The holidays were great, at least for me. We had a good start to 2024. I went out with friends after a hockey tournament, first weekend of January 6th, and she went out last Friday, January 12th, with colleagues who she is starting to see as friends. She came home Saturday early morning, and it started off to be a good weekend with us and the kids, 2 and 5. I work mostly nights to accommodate childcare for the youngest and to take my oldest to school. Once she is home, I go to work on my scheduled days. I do a lot around the house for her and the kids. The oldest I have raised since he's 17 months. She has sole custody of him, and the other is biologically mine. Monday night, my life changed for the worst, so it seems. She had some sort of a snap and said she wasn't feeling happy anymore and needed time to figure out herself. Looking into a therapist and figuring out her thoughts. I was ready to give her the time and space she needed. Reached out to couples therapy, as it was something she brought up during a more calm chat Monday night. Tuesday, she started new anxiety and depression medication, stating she has been having anxiety attacks at work, thinking about our relationship and how she feels while at work. This is all related to me once I asked her why she had left her engagement ring. She never took it off when she went to work. We have another conversation that night after how she feels and what the next steps are. At least I tried. It was like talking to a wall. We weren't getting anywhere. We have had communication problems in the past. Nothing ever this bad that warrants what is to come. We always seem to work through it and love again. Wednesday, she leaves the ring again. She states that wearing it is added pressure for her as she does not know what she wants. She does not want to wear it until she's figured herself out. We have another conversation that night. Seemed to go a little better, but again, she wasn't invested in the conversation. These are the conversations she's always wanted with me, opening up and addressing my feelings, yet it didn't seem like she was invested. Thursday rolls around, and again, her ring is left at home. We don't talk for much of the day, however. I still have hope we can get through this. I've reached out to a couple therapists, looked at the benefits coverage. I am ready when she is to take this serious and break through this slump. That night, she doesn't give me much. She goes to bed early, shortly after the kids. Friday morning, I don't hear from her in the morning yet again, and her ring is back in the original box. I don't know what to think. I start off my morning with getting the kids ready, like any other morning. Once my oldest is at school, I come and open my computer to search the web and look deeply into if what is going on is normal. Suddenly I see her messages come up one by one on my computer. She has been heavily sexting a coworker who I've questioned just recently. I have been cheated on in the past and have a hard time trusting, which I trusted her to this point. These texts were nothing like I've read before. I could not imagine this was her texting these things while I'm at home with the kids, and she was going through this hard time finding herself. I went deeper into reading every message. She said nothing they have been doing will affect her life more than it is affected now. Turns out she had been blowing him on lunch break, going out for lunch together, and Thursday they finally slept together. Now scheduling a night out for next weekend where I am off and will be home with the kids. My stomach was aching and I didn't know what to think. He is younger than her, does not look like a guy ready to care for her, as well as 2 children under the age of 6 with 2 different dads. I'm not sure what led her to this. When I approached the situation, she said he expressed his feelings for her at a lunch, and things escalated from there. When I tried to talk about it further, she had a hard time admitting what she'd done, and still has yet to apologize. She is saying this isn't the problem, and it is the next steps with the kids while she deals with what she is going through. As well as we need to talk more about it, even though I have been trying my best the past 3 days. She is claiming she did not think this through and went to bed early while I was at work, still trying to talk about everything. I've asked if she is ready to break this thing off with the guy, and she hasn't answered that. She wants to keep living together, sharing the same bedroom. I just don't think I can get over this. We had everything we ever wanted and were set to get married in 8 months. Everything in me says to try and make it work with counseling. My closest friends and parents tell me to leave her and split assets and figure out custody. I can't imagine anything less than full-time and raising these kids like I have been. Am I crazy to think I can somehow make this work while she still works with the guy? Financially, I have a place to go, she does not. She stated before I claimed she was cheating that she didn't see anything serious with this guy, nor is he ready to deal with kids. She says we will talk about it today when I am home. I am torn what is best for me and the kids. I couldn't imagine being away from them. Has anyone dealt with a similar situation? Am I crazy to stay for the kids and try to make her desire me again when she said she doesn't feel that passion with me? Clearly she did for this guy. How could I trust her with going out again when I'm not there? Or going to work in the same building as this guy? Does this type of thing ever work out? She always told me she would leave before she cheated, and I crazy thinking she wouldn't. But it happened. She is the love of my life. I am so torn and heartbroken. She is trying to spin it on me as I pushed her to feel this way. I never thought she would end up cheating on me. Reaching out to my fellow Redditors for some sort of advice. Thanks. Sorry for the long post. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Dude, leave the marriage. She has betrayed you horribly. A man released in her mouth, and she lied about it every step of the way. Let it go. It's likely only going to get worse. I know it's probably not an easy thing to do and hurts, but it's what's best for you. Comment 2. Get rid of her. She lies, doesn't respect you or the family. Look after yourself and the kids. She can leave for her new boyfriend. Get tested for sexually transmitted diseases too. See a lawyer. Document everything. And have some self-respect. The gaslighting has started. It won't end well. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around after my last post. I really appreciated all the advice and support. It's been a chaotic few months since then, and I've got quite the update for you all. So after I found out about her affair, things got pretty intense. We had a huge confrontation where I laid everything out on the table. I told her I knew about the coworker and the sexting. Her face went white as a sheet, and she tried to explain, but honestly, nothing she said made any sense. It was just excuses. I was ready to walk out right then and there, but then she dropped a bombshell. She was pregnant. I was floored. We hadn't been intimate in a while, so I knew there was a chance it wasn't mine. That was a punch in the gut. She swore she hadn't been with him long enough for it to be his, but trust was already out the window. We decided to get a paternity test, and the waiting was the longest few weeks of my life. I was a mess, trying to keep it together for the kids, but inside, I was a hurricane of emotions. When the results came back, it turned out the baby was mine. I was relieved, but also so conflicted. I didn't know if I could look at her the same way again. Despite everything, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wanted to keep my family together. So, we started couples therapy. It was rough, to say the least. We dug up all our past issues, like how I'd always felt a bit sidelined because I wasn't the biological father of our oldest, or how she felt trapped in motherhood and missed her freedom. It was painful, but it was also cathartic. Meanwhile, she quit her job, said she couldn't face that coworker again and wanted to make things right. I was skeptical, but it was a step in the right direction. She started a new job with no connections to the past, and it seemed to be going well. As for the coworker, he tried to reach out to her a few times, but she showed me the messages and didn't respond. It was a small comfort, but it helped rebuild some trust. The therapy started to make a difference. We were communicating better, and she was opening up about her feelings more. She even started wearing her ring again, saying it reminded her of the good times and what we were fighting for. But the real test came when she had her first work party at the new job. I was a nervous wreck, but she came home early, sober, and spent the night telling me all about her new colleagues. It was like the old days, and for the first time in months, I felt like maybe we could get past this. The kids have been our rock through all of this. They're so resilient and full of love. They've kept us grounded and reminded us of what's important. We've been doing more family activities like weekend trips and game nights. It's brought us closer together. And just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, her ex, the biological father of our oldest, reached out. He wanted to be more involved in his son's life. At first, I was defensive, but therapy had taught me to think things through. We met up, talked like adults, and came to an understanding. He's been spending time with our son, and it's been good for both of them. Now here we are, 3 months later. She's showing, and we're preparing for the new baby. The wedding is back on, but we've pushed the date back to give us more time to heal and grow as a couple. It's not perfect, and I still have my doubts some days, but we're working on it, one day at a time. I never thought I'd be able to move past her cheating, but here I am, still fighting for us. It's not easy, and I don't know what the future holds, but for now, we're taking it one step at a time. My partner disregards my 4-year-old's boundaries and winds her up until she vomits. I confront him and realize he's immature and can't parent. I contemplate leaving, but then he does this. I'm leaving him and changing the locks. I'm protecting my daughter. It starts off earlier in the day when he was just winding our daughter up. Little things, like singing over her favorite part in a film and not stopping when she asks him to. She's 4 years old and has set up boundaries that he did not respect. Tonight I fell asleep on the sofa and woke up to the sound of her crying. He headed up first, but I heard her say she wanted a cuddle with Mummy. Well, he started shouting at her, "No, that's enough. Get to bed now." She got more upset. I went to give her a cuddle and she was beyond worked up. So much so that she started to vomit. So, we went to the bathroom, had some cuddles, I washed her down, and we were sat through in the bedroom as I was calming her down, and he walks in. He started accusing her of doing it for attention. She's 4 years old. I got her settled back into bed. She was asleep within 5 minutes of being in bed, and I absolutely lost it. I didn't raise my voice one bit. I just told him that whether she was ill or got worked up, there is no reason to have spoken to her like that in the first place. There is a reason she only wanted a cuddle from me. The winding her up, the immaturity, the inability to actually parent. I do everything for that little girl when we aren't working, or for me, studying as I've gone back into education, whereas usually he's on his phone. There are other issues in our relationship, namely him not respecting my boundaries, and tonight I found myself downstairs thinking that we'd be better off without this immaturity. I couldn't care less if she just wanted a cuddle or if she was ill. She needed security in that moment, and he didn't give it to her. It's for that reason that I'm the most angry. Honestly, it was a massive red flag for me. I'm raising my daughter to be strong and healthy, not terrified of asking for help and emotionally insecure. I'd like to know if others have been in a similar situation, or whom I should speak to, what I should do about this. Edit. We got together when she was 6 months old. I'm the sole caregiver by law. So from that perspective, he's not legally involved in the slightest. Edit 2. Thanks so much for all of your comments. The reason I came on here in the first place was out of anger, but also, on reflection, fear. I'm going to speak to my mom today and tell her everything. We're very close. I need to put things in place immediately and work out all the little details, school, living, etc. I'm very grateful for all of your comments. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He's an arsehole. Singing over her favorite part in a film and not stopping when she asks him to. She's 4 years old and has set up boundaries that he did not respect. That's not a boundary. A boundary would be, if you sing over my favorite part, I'm not going to watch with you. Leave the room. A boundary isn't controlling someone else's behavior. It's controlling your own. He was being in butt and ignoring her request demand and winding her up on purpose. He shouldn't do that, obviously. I'm only mentioning that because if you're doing the same with your own boundaries, that would be a problem. He doesn't seem great. Leaving might be a good idea. He will likely get some custody. How are you going to ensure he treats her better? Therapy might be helpful. Comment 2. Your child was so abused that she had a physiological trauma reaction right in front of you, and you watched it all. You didn't stop it. You didn't take her out of the house to safety. Do not minimize this. This isn't winding her up. It's deliberate and malicious bullying and relentless destabilizing. Your partner is carefully teaching your child that she will never be safe. Not in her home, not even in front of her mom. You can break this cycle, but not with this man in her life, and not without understanding why you, yourself, can let this happen to your child. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a chaotic 3 days since my last post, and I've got some updates for you. Things have escalated, and I'm still reeling from the events that unfolded. After I spoke to my mom, she was incredibly supportive. She's always been my rock, and this time was no different. She offered to help me with the little details, like figuring out school and living arrangements. It felt good to have her on my side, especially considering what happened next. The next day, after our big blowout, he acted like nothing happened. He was all smiles and jokes, trying to play with our daughter like he hadn't just yelled at her the night before. But she was wary of him, sticking close to me whenever he was around. It broke my heart to see her like that, but it also made me more determined to protect her. That evening, things took a turn for the worse. We were all in the living room, and he started teasing her again. This time, she didn't just get upset, she got angry. She yelled at him to stop, and that's when he lost it. He started yelling back, saying she needed to respect him as her father. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He wasn't her father, not legally, and he'd never acted like one before. I stepped in, trying to calm the situation, but he turned on me. He accused me of turning her against him, of not respecting him as a partner. I was shocked. We'd been together since she was 6 months old, and I'd always tried to include him in our lives, but he'd never really stepped up. Now he was demanding respect he hadn't earned. The argument got heated, and I told him he needed to leave. He laughed in my face, saying I couldn't make him go, but I stood my ground. I reminded him that he wasn't legally involved and that I was the sole caregiver. That's when he got really angry. He started throwing things, breaking a vase my daughter had made in preschool. She started crying, and that's when I knew I had to get her out of there. We went to my mom's house that night. My daughter was so shaken up, it took hours to get her to sleep. I stayed up, talking to my mom about everything. She agreed that he had crossed a line and that I needed to take action to protect our daughter. The next day, I went back to the house while he was at work. I packed up some of our things, taking only what we needed. I also took the time to change the locks. It felt drastic, but I couldn't risk him coming back and causing more trouble. When he came home and found out, he was furious. He called me, yelling and demanding to be let in. But I didn't budge. I told him we needed space and that his behavior was unacceptable. He threatened to take me to court, but I knew he had no legal standing. It was an empty threat, but it still shook me. These past few days have been tough. My daughter is confused and upset, and I'm trying to keep it together for her sake. But it's hard. I never wanted this for her. I wanted her to have a happy home, not one filled with shouting and fear. I've been talking to a lawyer, getting advice on what to do next. It's a lot to process, but I'm doing it for my daughter. She deserves better than what he was giving her. Wife loses 100 pounds, and now she's too weak to do anything. But then I find out she's getting revenge with other men. So my wife has always been pretty average size, 5'7" and around 130 pounds. I don't know 100% because we just don't talk about it, but she has mentioned it in the past. I do know when I buy her clothes, and I ask, she always said she was a size 6, if that helps. She was also always pretty strong, does massage therapy, and was really good at deep tissue. I mean, there are times when she has worked on me and it hurt, and I'm not a small guy. About 6 months ago, she started changing things, not really eating junk food, and she joined some classes at the YMCA, yoga, and some cardio. Since then, the weight has really fallen off her. I don't know exactly how much because the few times I've asked her, she has said, I don't know because I don't care to weigh myself. So I just drop it. But if I had to guess, I think she has lost at least 20 to 25 pounds, if not more. She seems healthy in terms of energy, and her skin has really cleared up, but I have noticed some other things. I was doing laundry, which I do a lot, and her jeans are now only size 0 to 2. Doing massage, she has to do her own sheets, and the other day, I heard her really struggling to carry the bag of laundry up the stairs. Yes, it's a big bag, but I have never noticed that, and we've been together for years. I asked her if, are you okay with that? And she just said she needs a strong man to help her out and started flirting and getting intimate with me. Is she changing the subject? Which leads me to my next point. Without too much info, she looks completely different without clothes. She had some curves, etc. before, but now she's pretty much a figure like a ballerina. And she says she feels great, but I recently picked her up during the act and it was literally like nothing. Another big thing I noticed was she worked on me again for a massage last week, and all of the deep pressure she had before was gone, and I could tell she was really struggling. But if I bring it up, she gets defensive and tells me she feels better than ever and I should be happy for her, which I am. I just worry and don't know what to do. The final straw here was our dog, who likes to walk underneath our legs all the time and nudge her head up, and has done so since she was a puppy, literally lifted my wife off the ground last night. My wife laughed about it like it was funny, but I was alarmed. Our dog is part Mastiff, we think, and about 85-90 pounds. But still, that has never happened before. I just don't know how to approach her. Every time I have, she shuts it down. I know she still gets her period and she does eat with me, just no junk food. She's never eaten big portions, and those haven't changed. But the snacks afterwards are only for me now. I can't blame someone for wanting to be healthy, but I just want to make sure she's okay. Mini update. We talked this weekend and I took your advice and came to a place of concern, and it definitely helped. I was pretty close on the weight loss. She is actually a little less than I thought. But the important thing is she agreed to go get checked out. And since I always skip my checkups, I agreed to get one too. So a big step for both of us. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Tell her you are worried about her health and ask her to see her doctor so you can stop worrying if everything is fine. If you can get her to make an appointment to see her doctor, call them and let them know that you are concerned. As with every other mental health problem, it can be very hard to get someone to seek help. But from your description, she needs it. Comment 2. Just want to say to all the people saying he needs to have a discussion with her. Reading the initial post, it's pretty clear this discussion has already happened more than once, and either ignored or not taken well. Not that I have a solution, but telling him to do something, it's clear he has already tried to no success, is not helpful advice. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the advice and support. Here's what's been happening since then. After my wife and I both went for checkups, things seemed to be on the up and up. She was given a clean bill of health, and so was I. It felt like a weight had been lifted, and for a moment I thought maybe I'd been worrying over nothing. But then, new developments started to unfold that I couldn't ignore. My wife's behavior began to change in subtle ways. She started spending more time at the gym, and I noticed she was getting more attention from the guys there. It was like she was thriving on it, and it made me feel uneasy. One day, I came home early from work and found her laughing and chatting with one of her gym buddies in our kitchen. They were standing a little too close for comfort, and I could feel my heart sink. I brushed it off as nothing, but it stuck with me. Our relationship had always been built on trust. We met in college in a literature class. She was the one who approached me with her bright smile and easy confidence. We clicked instantly, bonding over our shared love for cheesy horror movies and 80s rock music. We were that couple everyone knew would end up together, and we did. But now, I was seeing a side of her I didn't recognize. She was always independent, but this was different. She was distant, and our conversations started to feel forced. I tried to remind myself of the woman who used to leave me love notes in my lunchbox, or the way she'd snuggle up to me on the couch during movie nights. But those memories were fading fast. The heartbreak hit me like a ton of bricks when I discovered a series of texts on her phone. They were from the same guy I'd seen in our kitchen, and they were flirty, to say the least. I felt betrayed, and the confrontation that followed was explosive. She admitted to an emotional affair but insisted it hadn't gotten physical. I wanted to believe her, but trust is like a mirror. Once it's shattered, it's hard to see things clearly again. We had been through so much together, from the loss of her parents to the joy of buying our first home. But this was a hurdle I wasn't sure we could overcome. The intimacy between us, which had always been a strong point in our marriage, suffered. I couldn't shake the image of her with someone else, even if it was just in text, and when we were together, it felt hollow. I remembered how she used to look at me with such love and desire, but now her gaze seemed empty. I also noticed that she was still losing weight. Despite the doctor's reassurances, it was clear that something wasn't right. Her once vibrant energy was replaced with a constant fatigue, and she seemed to be pushing herself too hard at the gym. One night, as we lay in bed, the distance between us felt like miles. I reached out to touch her, but she turned away. It was then that I realized our marriage was in serious trouble. The woman I married, who used to light up a room with her laughter, was slipping away from me. I suggested couples therapy, and to my surprise, she agreed. We started going to sessions, and it was like peeling back layers of pain and misunderstanding. We talked about her need for validation from others and my feelings of neglect. It was raw and painful, but it felt like we were finally getting somewhere. But just as things seemed to be improving, another surprise dropped. I found out she had been lying about the emotional affair. It had become physical, and it had been going on for longer than she admitted. I was devastated. The trust we had worked so hard to rebuild was broken again. We're still in therapy, trying to work through the mess. Some days are better than others. I cling to the hope that we can find our way back to each other, but I'm also preparing myself for the possibility that we won't. It's hard to accept that the person you thought you knew could change so much. I miss the woman who used to challenge me to karaoke battles, who would dance around the living room with me, and who made me feel like the luckiest guy in the world. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.